After the disastrous bail hearing involving Keffe D and the murder of Tupac Shakur, what has been revealed is that if Keffe D does not take the stand at trial, it looks like he will face the rest of his life in prison. Let's get into some of this straight game.
Life is like those cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Do me a favor. Click on what appears to be that little bell notification if you would like to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of the Straight Game. Also, click on the thumbs up button. It definitely helps the channel. And, we're going to get right into this. Ladies and gentlemen, as we've seen, this week has been a fabulous week in information and news involving the murder of Tupac Shakur and the upcoming trial in November involving Dwayne Keffe D. Davis. After the disastrous, I would call it disastrous, bail hearing in where Keffe D's lawyer was forced to put his client under oath after repeatedly saying that Keffe D would not be testifying anymore involving or not saying anything in regards to his situation and being in prison. And I would think that included the bail hearing. Keffe D's lawyer, Carl Arnold, was forced to put Keffe D under oath. And you can see that it wasn't planned that way. But he was forced to do it, and the reason why he was forced to do it was because Keffe D's lawyer did not know that they were recording Keffe D and his wife in that prison conversation. Keffe D's lawyer did not know that they had that information, right? I would think that WAC 100 was caught off guard that they would use the Vlad interview also. This is a court proceeding, and when it comes to new evidence, new information, like I said, once again, one has to be prepared and just being honest about their situation. And so let me say this. Keffe D's lawyer, Carl Arnold, has said repeatedly that Keffe D will not take the stand in his own defense during trial in November. And as we seen yesterday when the judge said basically that Keffe D's lawyer did not mount a defense in showing why Keffe D should have been let out on bail, even though the money appeared to be there. I told you how it should have been handled. The contingency on whether Keffe D got out on bail should not have been part of any book rights deal. There should not have been any prior conversation about what was going to happen, what was the reason behind wanting to bail Keffe D out. There was a little too much talking going on from that perspective. And so when the prosecution played the tape with Keffe D talking to his wife in a jailhouse interview, in a jailhouse visit, if you will, it was a bombshell, if you will, because you got to see Keffe D in his rarest and rawest form and dealing with his wife. And like I said, if there was any kind of a personal situation that you could see somebody dealing with somebody in, it was him dealing with his wife. And the things that he said about, it being some Jewish guy's money, Cash Jones was just a front guy, basically him believing that he needed his wife's signature to sign off on the situation from that perspective. And the reason why he would have done that, most people don't know the reason why he was trying to get his wife to do it, because then he could say that he wasn't benefiting off of the crime of Tupac Shakur because his wife would have had signed in regards to the bail situation and dealing with that, for most people that don't really understand that. right? That's the reason why he had to tell his wife, or should I say, what they found out in court was lied to his wife in regards to her needing, to sign up for this situation and for him to make bail, when it wasn't so. It wasn't true. You know what I mean? And so that's how they made it look. And so now, when they started to play the jailhouse visit between Keefe D and his wife, it put Keefe D's lawyers back up against the wall, if you will. And so with that being said, you seen and you heard it. He said, Carl Arnold said, you know what? I'm going to have to put Mr. Davis under oath, because it left Carl Arnold no other option other than to do that. And then we heard when Keefe D began to speak, he was using profanity. He asked him to repeat what he had said in regards to the conversation he had with his wife, and he repeated that he had talked about the Jewish guy and all of this, that, and the other, which was totally embarrassing. It was totally embarrassing. And from that perspective, it spoke volumes to me, is that Keefe D doesn't really have a defense at this particular point. With that bail hearing going the way that it went, they don't, all of that, I lied, I did it for fame, I did it for money, I did all of that. That is not a formidable defense at this particular point, right? And the judge can see the way that the defendant conducted himself, even in the bail hearing. He's not ready. Like I said, once again, at least with OJ really didn't do too much talking. And because people like to look at, contrast the OJ situation. OJ didn't do too much talking. OJ had big money. And he had money to be able to afford the best legal team, I think, that we've ever seen assembled in a trial in history. Johnny Cochran, Kim Kardashian's father, Barry Scheck, what's the other Harvard professor name? I can't think of his name, but all of those guys who OJ had under his legal team, right? Phenomenal legal team, and able to come up with a argument or different arguments that planted the seed of doubt, right? Or should I say, I'm going to say the seed of doubt as to whether O.J. Simpson had did it or not from that perspective. This case here, this involves 1 minute flipping from public defenders to now Carl Arnold, who we don't know. We don't know whether he's taking pro bono, whether somebody's paying for the lawyer for Keefe D or not. But what we've seen at the bail hearing was there is really, truly, honestly no plan. Because if your attorney says, like, look, we're not talking, we're not taking a stand, we're going to let the DA present the evidence that he has, right? And we're going to have to let them place you in Vegas. That's not going to be a big deal now. Because basically Keefe D did an interview with the Metropolitan Police saying that he was in Vegas, saying everything that he did, saying that he hid the gun, said he did all of these things. And he has told this story at least 10 times over. So my thing was, at the end of the day, well, there was no real discussion with any outside attorney prior to proceeding and trying to get Keefe D out of jail. There was none. This was I could get the money, I could go bail him out. And from that perspective, I respect that. But the situation wouldn't have happened at all if people were paying attention to the first initial bail hearing when Keefe D had the 2 public defenders. Because it was said during that situation that any bail money that was going to be put up would have to go through a what? Okay, y'all don't know. So it would have to go through a source hearing, right? And so they would have to try to find out the source of the money and where the money came from, right? So now, with that being said, and then also knowing, like I said before, the 41.B/200 statute in Vegas. If one knows this information, one does not attempt to even try to go bail Keefe D out from that perspective, because especially under the guide that they were trying to bail him out, where he could be a part of buying the rights to his book and we're gonna shoot this television show. That doesn't happen. You know what I mean? When somebody talked to a real lawyer and understanding what the law was in Las Vegas, or better yet, paying attention to the initial bail hearing where the prosecution was trying to get Keefe D bail denied, but the judge gave him the $750,000 bail with certain conditions in which the prosecutor had asked for. So, coming up to trial, November 4th. 2024. Keefe D is going to have to take the stand, just like he had to take the stand and speak for himself, like his lawyer forced him under oath based on the information that was revealed with his wife and him talking in the jailhouse visit, as well as other phone conversations that he had, right? He is now going to have to explain himself. And if he does not get up on the stand and explain himself, it seems like from the evidence and all of the self-incriminating statements that Keefe D made, that he will go to jail, period. It takes a hell of, and he has one attorney. He doesn't have a legal team. He doesn't have investigators working on his behalf, private investigators working on his behalf, and all of those things to mount some type of formidable defense in regards to that. He doesn't have those things. And so, therefore, if Keefe D does not take the stand, he'll go to prison, I believe. And like I said, yeah. But if it was known, or the proper vetting of the information, the law, the statute, and all of those things, and like I said, even if they would have did it the other way around, I offered another way that they could have done it right with just buying the rights outright. It wouldn't have mattered, because the prosecution could use that too. They could use that too. It was a catch-22. And if people have been listening to what I've been saying, just following the facts and following the law and understanding like what this situation involves. You know, most people say, well, Keefe D lying, he's a liar. I don't believe him. It ain't what you believe. As you can see, the difference from what you believe on YouTube and all of that, and what I believe on YouTube and all of that. But I look a little bit deeper than, like I would say, I would consider myself, a person who likes to look for the information. Most people, they listen to what they hear on the internet, and it's based on who they like and who they're in favor of. I don't play them kind of games, because like I said, even though I like you and I might be in favor of who you are as a person and all of that, the facts are not on your side or my side. The facts are just the facts. So when you understand that, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, such and such said this, yeah, oh man, facts, man, facts, Nah, I'm not doing that. We're going to have a conversation, and the conversation that we're going to have is going to be about the information and the knowledge that we have present, and we can sit down and possibly debate what that is and what the options are from what we know, right? But we're not going to be like, yeah, because such and such said it. Yeah, I agree with him or I agree with her because I like her platform. I like whatever. That's not what this is about. This is about straight game. This is about knowledge, wisdom, understanding. This is about facts. This is about research. This is about carefully understanding and applying the information so that the public can be aware. And so now we see what I've been trying to explain all along. When people say, but I believe Keefe D, I think he lied about it. No. If you understand that when he first talked to Greg Cady and them, and he gave them that story about the murder of Tupac Shakur, implicating himself, implicating his nephew, and telling on everybody else who was in that car, right? And talking about how they were standing on the corner laughing when the ambulance rolled by when Tupac was there. Talking about how they went to get drinks, where he put the gun at after they parked the car at the carriage house, put the gun under the wheel well and all of those things, right? All of those things were said before the book was released, before the art of dialogue, before all of that. So the money and the fame argument won't work. Right? You can't. I think Carl Arnold even knows this, but I mean, like I said, he's taking the situation, and like I said, any lawyer, he's going to get publicity from this. He's going to be in front of the cameras. He's going to, all of those things. And so, but like I said, when you're looking at it from a factual standpoint, you can't come up with an argument and say all of a sudden, now that I got caught, oh no, I need a do-over. I was lying. I said all of that to make money because Greg Kading wrote a book. Greg Kading was not under the investigation or for any kind of drug trafficking, or better yet, Greg Kading did not admit to his involvement in the murder of Tupac Shakur and how he hid the gun and how he passed the gun back to his nephew. Keefe D made all of those self-incriminating statements. So when you hold somebody responsible for what they do and what they say, that is what that is, right? So now, with all of that being said, the only way Keefe D has a slight chance, and it's a very, very slight chance, is that he can convince a jury panel, right, in Las Vegas that he made it up, like he said. But the evidence that the prosecution is going to present is going to get in the way of all of that. It's going to get in the way of all of that. Furthermore, with him being denied bail and that being presented on television live, Keefe D has now tainted the jury, not in his favor, but against him. Because it was, listen, man, it was revealed that he lied to his wife. It was revealed that what he said 1 minute, then he said something else. It was inconsistent. But what has been consistent is what Keefe D has been repeating on the internet over and over, on Vlad in his book, on Art of Dialogue. Those things have been consistent. And they're going to show it back to back to back to back to back, the consistency on all of these different platforms where he said the same thing. And the only way he's going to be able to beat that is by taking the stand. That argument that he's not taking the stand no more, not going to work. Carl Arnold, if you're watching this, you know that too. You're going to have to put your client up on the stand. He's in a fight for his life. Right? And another thing that hit me was when Keefe D talked about how he had to go to university, to UMC. To UMC. God is present, man. He's so present. And the reason why I say that was because that was the same hospital Tupac died at, where he had to go get his emergency surgery. Powerful, man. Powerful. Right? When you sit back and you think about that. Remember, he said that he was laughing about Tupac being in the ambulance when they were taking him to the hospital. And here it is, some odd 30 odd years later, Keefe D would then go to the same hospital for emergency surgery, like Tupac Shakur, suffering from gunshot wounds, had to go to that same hospital for emergency surgery. I wonder if it hit Keefe D like that. Did he ever think about that when he had to go to the hospital for that? You understand what I'm saying? But when you understand things, and man, it's deeper than most people would want to really get into when you deal with it from that perspective. But yeah, karma hits thick, man. It hits thick, and like I said, once again, it's one thing to feel like, you got to do what you got to do. It's another thing to go and say, we thought that shit was funny as a motherfucker about him being in the ambulance and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. You could have felt that way, but you didn't have to verbalize that to the public, right? Because guess what? They're going to play that in court too. The defendant showed no remorse, even after the fact, even 20 years later, doing interviews. Too much talking, man. Too much talking. And so when you think about the big picture, and like I said, I always like to look at the big picture. Yeah. The end result is now, based on the disastrous bail hearing that happened, Keefe D is now going to have to take the stand in his own defense. And I think his lawyer knows that at this particular time, because his lawyer was forced to put him under oath during his own bail hearing. And usually that doesn't happen. That's rarely a thing it's rarely a thing that you even have to have a bail hearing, unlike that situation where you have to have a source hearing and finding out where the money came from. But because of the high profile nature of this case and involving Tupac, and Keefe D and his background, that was the case. Because like they said in the beginning, Keefe D couldn't even afford his own lawyer. So they basically, well, hey, where's this money coming from then? If he couldn't pay for his own lawyer, that's what they're thinking. So yeah, it's going to get interesting, man. But that's what I saw. Chime in the comments, man. Tell me what you guys think. November's right around the corner. And we're going to see what happens. Your boy DELRAY, straight gang.